Hey everybody. So every time I start to play the penny whistle, Mitzi wants to be held, and I think she's realized that if I'm holding her, then I can't hold the penny whistle. So anyway, a lot of people were asking me after the last video. Which was called Chris Chan, the Second Prison Letter. If you haven't seen that, please go watch that first, because I don't want to reiterate all of the points I made about transgender identity and that sort of thing. But anyway, a lot of people were asking me, well, if you don't think that Chris Chan is legitimately transgender, why would you refer to him as she, her if you were speaking to him, and call him Christine if you were speaking to him in his presence? And granted, the odds that I will ever be in Chris Chan's physical presence are slim to none. But the thing is, it actually has less to do with Chris Chan and more to do with me. And the reason being that there are people out there like myself who have a principled disagreement with the idea that Chris Chan is legitimately transgendered. There are other people out there that would misidentify or would deliberately seek to misidentify Chris Chan as a taunt. And if you think about it, that willful misidentification went back to when he was identifying as male. When he said, when he was identifying as male, there were people, or expressly identifying as male, there were people out there that were pushing that he was actually a female, actually transgender, because of the squeaky way he talked and his kind of effeminate nature and all these things. They were gaslighting him with that back then too. So either way, there are going to be people who will use these things to taunt him. And the thing is, I know, if I may be so bold, I've looked into my shadow a good deal, and I know I'm not above having the feelings that motivate people to behave that way. It's that there is something almost when in encountering someone like Chris Chan, there's something almost just a visceral urge to adopt the demeanor of the traditional high school bully, if you will. Like, there's something in this this kind of in encountering something that's so wormy and servile and pathetic that you feel compelled. There's like something you feel compelled to almost to become Gaston in a way, that kind of person. And I think it's a visceral response to wanting to distance yourself from that, seeing things in that character of person that are disgusting and revolting, and knowing that we have within us the potential to backslide into something like that ourselves, because personal growth is a cumulative process, and you can be broken down like anybody else. So I think on a level of existential fear, that you have the potential to backslide into behaving that way, or you can empathize with it in a way. And yeah, that's the better word. You can empathize with that person, and weirdly, the empathy for that person, that weak, servile, pathetic behavior, makes you want to push back hard. It angers you. You don't like that you can relate to it, and so you push back from it. And I say that to say that I am cognizant of feeling the same aggravations and frustrations that so many people who have badgered and bullied Chris Chan have experienced. I know that that's within my nature, like it's within all of our natures to some extent, to varying degrees. And so, because of that, I am highly cognizant of not giving in to anything, and highly cognizant of the impulses that are motivating me to make certain statements. In the past, I've been someone who just shot from the hip and didn't really think about it. But now I try to be cognizant of the why and how of what I'm doing and what I'm saying, what's motivating me to say these things. And, Carl Jung was I think was very apropos to say that if you don't confront your shadow, it will, this is not verbatim, but he said if you don't confront your shadow, it will constantly undermine you, and you'll call it fate. And I think that's very true. We have to look into and examine this part of ourselves. I think of the the biblical story where, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form comparing myself to Jesus. It's just the Jesus is in many ways really the supreme archetype of the hero's journey. There is a point where he's tempted by Satan, and he is tempted. He experiences temptation. He is human, and humans have the capacity to be tempted. It's not whether or not you feel the feeling, it's what you do with the feeling that matters, and being cognizant of what's happening to you. So that is so that's the reality of it is, I know that there is a part of me that, as much as I have a principled disagreement, a genuine intellectual disagreement with the idea of Christianity being transgendered, there is a part of me that I think a lot of internet trolls can relate to, a lot of people in general following this story can relate to, which is that feeling of like, oh, come on, we have to put up with that too. You're gonna do that too. Like, can't you just not do one weird thing? Come on, Chris. There's that attitude. That attitude is there, and I understand that feeling. And that's something that, you have to be at peace with, the feeling of that feeling, or the reality of having feelings like that. And one of the necessary things in that, I think, is to be cognizant of carrying yourself in such a way that your behavior won't allow you to backslide into that. It won't allow you to take on the moniker and the mantle of a bully and that sort of thing. And that is not just for the sake of not bullying Chris Chan. It's for the sake of not casting myself in the role of a bully, which is very, very important to me. And so I would consciously, if that is the concession, the even-handed concession that I will make in the interest of being in the interest of interacting with the situation as a fundamentally kind-hearted, good-intentioned person, is to say that I would give this person that courtesy when I was speaking to them, to remove the potentiality for any kind of malevolence or any kind of ill will on my part. Now, that said, I'm certainly not going to address him as, Super Mario or any of those other things that he said that he is. But that one fundamental courtesy is important. It's important to me to have that in place, so that I can have my own darker nature on a leash and under control and working for me rather than against me. And that is what's highly important to me. So yes, for that reason, when we're talking about Chris Chan privately, or not that this is private, but we're having this discussion away from Chris Chan. This is not meant to be seen by Chris Chan. I doubt it ever will be. But as we're having this discussion about Chris Chan, I do think that it's relevant to, or it's fair to refer to him as he, especially since he has been identifying as male. Well, I won't go into the other reasons that I would use that I think it's okay to talk about him as male in this context. Those have already been discussed. Anyway, while I think that that's acceptable in discussion here, addressing him directly, I would make it a point to use those pronouns for the sake of not giving myself that window into any kind of window into antagonizing him. Now, granted, if he could be convinced to abandon that and all of his other delusions, and I want to emphasize when I say that, no, I'm not saying trans people are delusional. I'm saying that Chris Chan is delusional. Watch my previous video, Chris Chan, a second prison letter, to understand what I'm talking about. If he could be guided out of his delusions, I think that would be better. But fundamentally, I would give him that courtesy.